In case you weren't here when I mentioned earlier, my name's Emily, and today the topic is on temperance, the strength of moderation. That's what we'll be talking about. And chocolate. Oh no, not really. But there's some chocolate. An inspirational quote about moderation for your contemplation is, "Moderation is the silken string running through the pearl chain of all virtues." And that's by Joseph Hall. And at Sunburst we have a core of a meditation practice. But around that core of practicing meditation, it's surrounded by and kind of supported by a daily, everyday life practice of looking at, are we making conscious choices in our actions through an eightfold path? And are we trying to develop qualities in ourselves that support that same goal as meditation? And so there's 12 virtues that we study through the year as the different 12 astrological signs pass through the year. And right now we're in Sagittarius. The virtue that we're looking at this month is temperance. So that's the reason for the theme, and all these things are pointing to helping us find our true self. You know, it's all, you can read about moderation in any kind of secular website, probably right in January, like when people are setting their intentions, you can probably read about moderation all over the place. But our reason for looking at any of these things is to know the true self within us. What is that changeless essence within us? All our lives, everything's changing, coming and going. We're happy, we're sad, we're angry, we're calm, whatever. But inside us, there's something that is steady, and it's a kind of a peace and a joy and a love that is not really even comparable to our coming and going happinesses and things like that. It's so steady in those qualities that it is hard sometimes to find amidst all of our ever-changing circumstances and feelings and emotions and all these things. So in meditation, we're looking for that essence. And that essence is not just in each one of us. It's in everyone and everything. It's in everything that we can see. But we have to look to find it. It's easier for us to take in the surface of what we're seeing. And it's also beyond all of that. It's what is manifest. It's just a drop in the bucket of this essence. And so you can call this the divine, you can call it our true being, you can call it God, our mother, father, our creator, I am that I am. The name that resonates with you is the best one you should use. And it's what we're looking for together. So I'm happy you're all here together. Spend some time looking for that together. But now back to temperance. I always have a hard time relating to this virtue because it just sounds so restrictive, uncomfortable. Oh, I have to rein everything in. That is fun. And it is about examining whether we are overindulging in things. Are we going to extremes in our lives that are not serving us in that way? So Merriam-Webster defines it as moderation in action, thought, or feeling, or restraint. So I wasn't wrong in thinking that. But the more I've been contemplating this virtue in preparing for this talk, I'm really finding it is joyful and liberating to build that muscle of temperance. And now is where I bring the chocolate part, because tempering is a thing you can do to chocolate. Also steel, but I was really resonating with the chocolate part. Because when you temper chocolate, it makes it so that it has that, like really high quality chocolate has been tempered. It's like silky, it's smooth, it's shiny, It it melts in your mouth, but it does not melt at room temperature. But do you know how you get that to happen? Is you melt the chocolate. You melt the chocolate. You're stretching it and pushing it in a way that then the everyday things of just sitting at room temperature are not rocking it all the time. And its true essence, that's what we think of as good chocolate, right? Its true essence is coming forth because that stretching and pushing happened on it. And I really feel like that relates to me to building the muscle of exercising temperance in my life. It's like, it might not be that comfortable right when I'm doing it, but it's making it more possible for my true essence to come into my consciousness or to come through me and to be felt by others. And so that's something for us to think about. Like, what is the joyful result of exercising moderation or restraint? And if that's sometimes if that's our deep goal that really calls to us, it makes it worth it. The other thing about it is that you don't melt it to just any old temperature. You can over melt it, and that wrecks the chocolate. Like, you can push your, like, and that I think is true for when we're trying to make changes in ourselves. We can push it too far, and we go to a different extreme. Or we're trying to push so hard, and this is important in January when a lot of people are setting goals, is like, if you're doing no exercise right now, but suddenly you think you're going to go spend 2 hours in the gym every single day, maybe there are a few people that will work for, but for the most of us, we're going to not be able to accomplish that. Or if we do, we're going to be, it's going to overtax our bodies. So you have to find for each of yourself, what is the limit that is a stretch, that I'm really stretching to do something, to make this positive change, but without overdoing it, going to a new extreme or making it so I really can't complete it at all. You want it to be sustainable. You want to bring this into a new thing in your life. And this can be for things that are some of our conscious choices, like if we want to spend less time on screens and more time exercising. That might be a way of moderating what is going on in our lives, balancing out the different things we're doing. But also sometimes looking at what our subconscious and unconscious patterns are. I have had developed about 2 or 3 years ago. During COVID, I was spending a lot of time on long phone calls because there were no in-person meetings. And I developed this habit of snacking during a long phone call. And I was like, why am I doing this? I would get off the phone call and be like, why did I butter some bread and eat it? It didn't make any sense to me. And then one day I had a puzzle sitting out. It just happened, there was a puzzle sitting out. And after the phone call, I realized that I had gone over to the puzzle and turned the pieces over, or maybe, I don't know, sorted the straight edge pieces into one pile or something. And I said, oh my gosh, I think I just need to do something with my hands to be able to stay focused on the call. And so then I have if I don't have a puzzle out, sometimes I go fold my laundry, something while we're talking on the call. And so, so it's not always that, oh, I needed the hunger. It's sometimes we need to look at why we're doing these things, or how to re-cue ourselves to do a different thing. Understanding the roots behind these things can help us with bringing moderation into our lives. So that was a subconscious, unconscious thing I was just doing, and it wasn't like I was making a poor conscious choice. I was just doing something that was creating a lack of moderation in my life, but I had to work on recognizing it and then work to see what was the subconscious or unconscious thing going on. So that's different in every situation, and you have to use your own intuition to find out what those things are for yourself. And it's ongoing. Just because I figured that one thing out doesn't mean I'm done with moderation in my life. There's ever new ways to look at this. And if we look at it like a muscle, we can keep working on it. So some of the classic ways that I think can really help us, that's a practical one that I gave you an example of, like over snacking. That has practical implications for me. But these things can have also a spiritual implication for us if we're doing things that indulge in our senses, but even also things like if you have developed sort of over habit, like you're so not indulging in fun things that you're just overly focused on your chores or your work or something like that. That is also not that temperate. And that both of those cases, like whichever extreme that would be, they're both kind of giving us the illusion that what is out here, invisible and outside of us, is what's real. All of our chores and our work to do, is that what's real? Is all these sense pleasures, is that what's real? Both of those, they kind of reinforce that thought, that perspective of those being what is reality. So moderating any of those extremes we're doing in our lives can help us get a little crack in our perspective to be able to see that there's so much more to our beings and to existence and to life than just all those things. So I want to share a quote from Anandamayi Ma about this. She was a saint in India, a contemporary of Paramahansa Yogananda, who was the founder, the teacher of Sunburst's founder, Norman Paulson. She says, "For ages and ages, you have already enjoyed so much of eating and sleeping, of worldly pleasures and comforts. The more one indulges in them, the more prominent they grow. One must not give in to them. So long as you are not established in your true being, you cannot possibly be at peace." When we look at ourselves as one with all that is, we can look at how we relate to the whole around us as well. Are we treating the natural environment in a supportive manner or extractive? Is it honoring and supportive and life-giving? And with each other, treating each other in a way that lifts each other up, or in a way that just seems to better ourselves. And it can be consciously chosen that way, or sometimes we're just going along with how things are, and it's not really a choice we're making, but a whole system going on. Tomorrow's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it's a reminder we need to look in ourselves to see if we're really lifting each other up, but also look at how institutions in the system are doing that or not doing that. In terms of thinking of how, whether we're giving, life-giving, supporting, or just taking what seems to be good for us. I read a story about someone dreaming of going to a marketplace where everything was given freely instead of I think it was usually the place that they shopped, and that the person related that they recognized that in the dream they took less. They took just what they needed. They took less because it was freely given. And it's something we can look at with how we, what are we asking of life? What are we asking of our senses, of the natural world? All of these things, are we looking at this human life we've been given, with everything here for us being given as a gift. We're grabbing as much as we can get because we like it and we just want as much as we can. But we recognize this is such a gift, and honoring that gift, take in what's needed, take in what's supporting our essence, the essence of that gift of life. We're going to spend a little time in a quiet meditation together. And it's a time to get to know that true self within us. So if you have a meditation practice, you can do it during this time. And if you don't, you can just follow your breath, just being aware of the feeling of it coming in, feeling of it coming out. And just watching that quietly and allowing a space in our consciousness for the greater self, the divine, to be revealed. We'll start with 3 ohms and then go into quiet. If you want to find a comfortable way to sit, or you can be comfortably upright. Divine Spirit,
Divine Spirit,
we recognize you and your love,
we recognize you and your love,
your joy and peace,
your joy and peace,
as our own true nature,
as our own true nature.
May we live our lives
May we live our lives
in balance and moderation,
in balance and moderation,
staying ever aware
staying ever aware
of you,
of you,
our ever-present dearest friend.
our ever-present dearest friend. Amen.
Let thy whisper in the temple of silence guide me to the right path. Let thy whisper in the temple of silence guide me to the right path that leads to thee, 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 that leads to thee. Let thy whisper in the temple of silence guide me to the right path. Let thy whisper in the temple of silence guide me to the right path that leads to thee, 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 that leads to thee. Let thy whisper